Welcome to my talk about creative coding in OpenRNDR. My name is Edwin Jakobs, and I am best described as a creative coder. And I realize that doesn't mean, ooh. All right, somehow these kind of things always happen to me. Just gonna ignore this for now. Apropos. Creative coding. Besides crashing the editor, I make code that is creative. It starts from drawing. So a lot of my code is it's about drawing, drawing on the screen. I make systems that they look like writing, or they look like things being bent, or they look like paint, or they look like vectors intersecting other vectors. They look like maybe ASCII art. They look like pencil drawings on a wall. They look like very complex vector compositions, or even more complex. They look like tapestry with intricate human-like details. They look like brutalist constructions. They look like ink drawings that, for some reason, also animate. They look like things that are placed under a microscope. They look like maps. They look like lasers. They look like pencil drawings. They look like, I don't even know what it is. Some of them start with questions about placing circles on the screen. Some are about light, about what can you do when you start with old drawing languages like Logo or Turtle. Drawings that come from adjacencies in graphs. I don't know what this is. Complex stuff. Complex stuff that looks like paint. And, let's see. Systems where I try to avoid collisions. In a lot of these works, the goal is not even so important. I don't know even where I'm going to, but I have a starting point, and I have tools that allow me to iterate on wherever I'm going to. I also do a bit more, things with more consequences. I'm one of the 3 partners of a studio in The Hague. It's a studio for interaction design. And here you see our studio on Street View. And if you zoom in a bit, you see that there's some simple drawings on the windows. Below our studio, there's actually like a gallery, an art space. And at the time Street View decided to take this picture, there was actually like one of our works was on display in this gallery. The topic of Street View, it has, it has captured me for quite a bit. Well, you all know Street View, and what I find really interesting is that it brings you to a place, or at least like a representation of that space, and that representation is mostly formed by a sphere, and that sphere has like an image wrapped around it, right? And you can unwrap that image, and that image will look like this. A typical question that we would like to answer in our studio is, how many of those images exist, and what does that entire collection, what does that look like? So we made some tools that would scrape those images. So you would start at one point, you would collect those images, and then we do like the typical thing. You draw that world from the outside, right? So here we see the city of Milan mapped out through Street View's images, right? And what is really cool is that you can see both exactly what Street View can see, but you can also see what it doesn't see. So we can see the black spots in this system of cameras and sensors. And here we are sort of lucky that we can actually see those black spots. We can make ourselves aware of it, but that's absolutely not always the case. This experiment it led, or it pointed us to try something with that material that we've collected. So here we see a little experiment where we try to project those images that we found onto spheres. So we bring us into a physical space. There are also sensors in this space, and when someone moves in front of those spheres, they follow that person in the space. And this, to me, it still feels like, the process or the data, it pointed us in this way, and we reached a point here where we are not really sure what it means. But hey, it was fun. Sort of like a recurring theme here is that we treat like images as sort of like particles of data, and here we see an image that is made of images that come from the archive of the Amsterdam Museum. And all these images, they are placed in a much bigger image in a way that's like the smaller images based on like the intensity and the contrast of the image, that they form a bigger image. And this was made to be placed in a large bike parking in Amsterdam. So we see roughly like 150 meters of printed material. Another place for what I would call particles of data is your typical university library. This is the library of the Technical University in Delft. And back when I studied there, I am pretty sure that there were even more books in this space. So the TU Delft, I think they have like the typical problem of libraries these days, is that the books are actually disappearing. The books go away, and the space is used for studying or for events. The books go away, but I'm pretty sure that like the services that the library offers, they haven't gone away. They are still there, but they are mostly digital services, and they have become like a bit invisible. And with the TU Delft library, we did a pilot project in which we tried to sort of bring back a small part of one of the collections that they have back in the space. And this is about a collection of student theses, so bachelor, master's, and PhD dissertations. We try to bring them back into this space, and without printing them. So for this, we made like an interface, and in this interface, you see a big map of all these articles, and all these articles, they are placed in a map in such a way that articles that are similar, they are near each other in this map, right? And this is done by embedding the abstract text into a vector space, reducing the dimensions of that vector space to 2, and then we get like a space of data that we can show to anyone interested in this collection. That also allows people to browse this collection of articles in a way that they couldn't really do before. Well, just embedding those abstracts and reducing the dimension of those vectors to 2, that's not really enough, because then you would get just like a space of points, and we want to do something where we can show just a bit more than just a point. So we visualize every point as as a visual artifact. And this visual artifact is roughly like a cover for each of these articles. So what we did here was based on those vector embeddings, we create visuals. And then we are back to sort of the drawing exercises that we started from in the beginning. Yeah, so actually all of the work that I've shown here, that is made possible by tools that we have made ourselves. It's actually OpenRNDR for us is also more of a tool in which we can make more tools to do our work. Some of the things that OpenRNDR is really good at is vector graphics. So here we see, for example, a circle. That circle that is made up of 4 Bezier curves. We can not only draw it, but we can make those Bezier curves sort of like subject to computation. So here we place points on those curves, nicely equidistantly place points. We also know about like local properties of that curve. So here we also have for each point, we also know the direction in which the curve points. We can do that for circles, but of course also for much more complex shapes. We can also work with the area of the shape, right? With properties like in and out, and here we have like a simple example of placing points inside the shape formed by the curves. Here we see a simple example of making an animation by just drawing a small part of the curves that form each of these letters. And we can easily make that more complex by just repeating that animation and offsetting the animation for every instance that we draw. Here we see a Voronoi diagram of points that are placed on these letters. So it's not just about drawing the letters, it's about doing computations on those letters, and through those computations we can draw new things. Well, there's also another thing that we are pretty good at. It's post-processing. So whatever you draw on the screen, you can run that through. Basically, you can run that through a bunch of shaders, and you can apply effects to it. So you're not really tied to just vector graphics. You can basically do anything that a shader can do. Quick example of what a typical OpenRNDR program looks like. Here we see like a main function. There's like an application, a small configuration block in which we set the size of the window, and then there is something that's program, and inside this program there is something that's called extend, and whatever is inside the extend that is drawn as many times as possible. So this just draws one circle at the center of the screen. Another thing that we do typically very well is having a lot of programs, runnable programs in our projects. So here you see like a bunch of variations on a theme in a single project. Another thing which is very important to us is being able to take screenshots of what you're making. So there's often a process where you write code, you run it, and you take a screenshot sort of to preserve whatever it was that you've made. The same thing we can do for videos. So here's those videos we use or to just like quickly document something, but you can also very well use it for production quality videos. Well, there's a very important part to this project, which is the guide in which we try to write on how to use OpenRNDR with a lot of visual examples. I think it's a pretty good starting point for if you ever want to try this. Next to the OpenRNDR project, there's also ORX, which stands for the OpenRNDR Extras, and that repository contains a tonload of highly composable extras to OpenRNDR. So just to give you an example, there's a compositor extra that allows you to work in layers. There's ORX effects, which is a collection of shaders that can be used for post-processing. There's ORX GUI, which is used for creating very simple user interfaces around your drawings. There's ORX Olive, which is a live coding environment. There's ORX Shapes that has a very large collection of code to do pretty complex stuff with shapes in a very simple way. And there is ORX Noise, which is mostly a collection of random number generators and noisy functions. Besides a studio, I also work as a teacher. So I teach art and design students programming, or actually I teach them programming in a creative context. So that means that I use OpenRNDR to teach them the basics of actually using Kotlin. Most of them, they haven't really programmed before, so it's the first introduction to coding and to Kotlin. Here we see a little show that we have set up where the students sort of display the code and the work that they have made. Typical kind of assignment that I would give to my students, a drawing assignment. Like to arts and design students, you can ask them to make a poster. And today I want to give myself the assignment to make an IntelliJ IDEA splash screen. And we first take a quick look at like the history of the IntelliJ IDEA splash screens. So that it started around, the collection that I have starts from version 12, which seems to be mostly like hand-drawn graphics. And we see that slowly evolve over time into something that I think it could be like from here. I think it's generated by a program. I know that especially like the recent ones, there's actually a tool to create these splash screens. But today I want to show how one could use OpenRNDR to create a speculative IntelliJ IDEA splash screen for, I don't know, version 2025 or somewhere in the future. And I do this like this. So I will create two visual systems and a typographic layer, and we'll see if we combine those three, then we'll have something that looks like a splash screen. And for this, I start from OpenRNDR, from the OpenRNDR template, which you can find here. Now I would smoothly jump to my editor, but we all know that that's that. So. Okay. I scaffolded some stuff. Usually I would start from nothing, but here there's a bit of code already there. So what we see here is the application and the configuration. Here there is a block that is called Olive program, and this is an OpenRNDR extension that I use for hot reloading code. So basically everything that is inside here is hot reloaded. And this is kind of a weird setup because we are like in a KT file, but somewhere hidden I use the Kotlin scripting to be able to reload this part. So I parse this KT file somewhere, and I detected that Olive program block, and whatever is in there is placed into a function that is re-evaluated whenever the file has changed. Um, Here there is a compose block. So in here we're going to make our two visual systems and our typographic layer. Then here at the top we see something that is called windowed GUI. That makes a GUI. And here we have a part where the composition that we make here is actually drawn. Then there's also a thread sleep 10 to prevent my computer catches flames. Okay, so we have nothing now. We'll start looking at what we have here. So we have here the GUI, and you will see here there's something that's called drawing settings. And when I open it, we see like the stuff that we have written out here. So there are some toggles to turn on and off some of the layers, and there are some predefined colors. And let's start by making a very simple hello world. There we have hello world. Okay. We'll first have to load a font or assign a font. This one, which happens to be the same font that is used by JetBrains for the splash screens. We're gonna position this maybe a bit better. Normally, I would make a nice grid system for these kind of things, but today we're just like eyeballing it. It's gonna look fine. And then I will use the smaller font to write a subline. Yeah, so let's quickly do something here that allows us to edit the text and the positions from the GUI. So what I do is I make a product name and I set it to this, and then I add a text parameter, which I call the product name. And then I do add to GUI. So here we have the product name. We can type in here, but we don't see it update there yet. That's because we still have our hard-coded hello world. And then I would say settings.product name. Okay. That's the way to do it. And then there is version. And let's call this Community 2025 Early Access Preview. And I'm not sure why this is. Okay. So that's our typographic layer. We can turn it off for now. Then we can do something visual. We start with drawing a rectangle that is as large as a rectangle can be while still entirely covering the screen. So here now we'll have a nice wide rectangle. The default stroke is black. I will turn it off. And then I will use something that's called a shade style to introduce a radial gradient. And that radial gradient is going to use draw settings color 0 and drawing settings color 1. So maybe switch these around. Well, it's a bit basic, but it's a splash screen. What I could do is use some post-processing filters to make this a bit more than just like a blob on the screen. There's one that is called lenses, and I apply it now. What I could do is, using the editor, I could find out which properties this filter has, but I can also just add the entire filter to the GUI. Let's call this like V1, lenses 1. Oh. Okay. Here he is. And then there's like some settings like the scale and the rotation, and then it immediately it lives up. It's becoming a bit more than just this blob. It's also very easy to just copy this thing, make it number 2, and then we apply another instance of this effect on top of the result of the previous one. Let's see, scale, rotation. Yeah, it's also very easy to make things that don't look so great. But bear with me. Right, I think this is it's an okay start, and if you see it in perspective, it's not so bad. Visual 2. For here, I would like to start maybe draw some points. So I will make some points. So there's one of the OpenRNDR extras. It provides an extension function. It's called scatter on top of shapes. And what you can do with that is generate random points that have like a minimum distance to each other. So now I would make points that have a minimum distance of 20 units or 20 pixels. I have to draw them still. I could use circles and say that I want to draw each of those points, maybe with a radius of 10. Oh, I have to enable the system. Okay. So now we have snow, and that is because this scatter function it uses random number generators to generate these random points. And if we don't specify which random number generator to use, it will just use the default random number generator. And I could fix it here by just providing a new instance of the random number generator, and now it's frozen. This also sounds like a typical moment where I would say, okay, I'll make a settings object where I have a seed parameter, which is going to be an int parameter, which is called the seed. And then I have to specify a minimum value and a maximum value. And we add this to the GUI with the name VL2 settings. Now I'm going to close these things. So there's VL2 settings with the seed here. It's still not doing anything because we have to use settings.seed here. So here, okay, now we can control the seed from the GUI. We could do the same thing for the radius. So make this somewhere between 5 and 100. And put this default value to 10. So, oh, okay. That's nice. Yeah, let's look at this in perspective. Nah. This is not great, but we can try some other things instead of. I don't think the rendering points here actually works very well. I mean, we can try to turn off the stroke. Yeah, it's a bit better, or we can make them smaller, but I think it's yeah, it's a bit. Let's try something else. We can make a curve that goes through all these points that I just generated here. One of those curves is called the hobby curve, which has like a really nice quality that makes really nicely rounded curves. So I provide points to go through, and I say I want to have this curve closed. Then let's just get rid of this, and then we draw the contour to render that curve. Okay, so this is a very complex polygon now with a lot of insides and outsides. Let's see if we can make that a bit. So yeah, now it starts to look like something that could be really nice, right? So there's a lot of variations of it, and each variation is sort of, yeah, similar. Okay, we can try to maybe use the same idea that we had with the gradient. So I also here make a shade style with linear gradient, and then I use drawing settings, color 1, and drawing settings, color 2. So it's at least in colors that look familiar to us. And if we look at it now, yeah, it's starting to look like a splash screen. Let's spice this thing up also a bit with maybe just like the same lenses effect I used before. I have to give this a better name. VL2 lenses. There it is. And then scale and rotation. Right. That's okay. Another thing I would like to add to this is a thing that's called stretch waves. GUI V2 stretch waves. And then we can do stuff like this. Rotate it a bit. Okay, actually I like this one a lot, and I would also like to add this to this one. So then also with the good feet. So there is also one for field. Let's turn layer 2 off and only look at layer 1 for a second. Turn this thing up, rotate a bit, maybe tune this a bit. Okay, then this one back on. Okay, with the typography, yeah, I think this is pretty okay. I do wonder why I have to constantly type the title. Sorry? Yeah, but it should have persisted the value that I type in this editor here. No one knows. Okay, so this is pretty nice. there are some things that we haven't touched here. So there are the colors here. They're predefined, and if I add it in a bit more yellow, then it looks a bit nicer. There are now we have a tool, and we could try to make some some variations on this thing. And also, when I press the space bar now, it takes a screenshot of whatever is on the screen, and it actually saves along with it all the parameters that are here in the GUI. So let's try to make some variations. Like if you want to make this like a very usable tool, I would reduce the number of sliders maybe to 2 or 3. But since we're now like directly adding the effects to the GUI, we have a lot of sliders, and to create variations now, it's a bit of a it's a it's a lot of work. Let's save this too. Change this. Like a typical assignment that I would give is make 100 variations, but that's gonna even now that's gonna take a bit of time. Okay. We have some time left. Maybe if someone has like maybe a nice idea or a request for something I could demonstrate, then I'm happy to hear it. Randomize. Oh, there's a randomize button here. Yeah, we can try it, but it's yeah, the consequences, they will never be the same. It works very, actually, it's not too bad, but over time, actually, we could have saved all of those, but over time, everything just turns into, yeah, sadness. That's all right. Yeah, that's a good one. Actually, I completely glanced over that thing because I was so focused on connecting things to this GUI. Actually, whenever you have, say here, you have a post stretch waves. Now, which one is this? This is VL2 lenses. Let's turn all of this off. Okay, so we can now see what we're doing. Stretch waves, we know that it has a property that we can find here. It's called phase, and whenever I touch it, we see we see something move. And what we could do is just write code for it. So now I set the phase equal to seconds, and seconds is essentially the amount of seconds that the program has been running. So now I animate the phase. There's also rotation. So if we want to make something like an animating splash screen, we would do this. Sadly, I've pressed the random button too many times for this to look great. But yeah, you get the idea. There is, wait, let's turn all of this off. There's like some simple animation things that I can quickly demonstrate. So instead of drawing this contour here as a, wow, this is really bad, huh? Yeah, it changed the color. Maybe just restart. Yeah, actually, that's a good one. Let's go back. Oh, yeah. Okay. Good tip. um, let's see. I wanted to take these things off. Then we have. I want to take off the fill and do. Okay. Just take this off for 1 second. And this one. Okay, so now we have this curve. What we could do is just draw just a small part of this curve. And you could do something like this. Not seeing anything. Sorry. Okay, so yeah, this is now really nicely animating, just a bit too fast. I hear, yeah, it's the Windows screensaver, yeah. Isn't it delightful? Yeah, typical thing that you could do. Is just draw the same thing many times with slight offsets. That's a bit too few. Oh, sorry, that's. So now we have a bit more of these worms running at the same time, and we could still combine it with this. It's not beautiful, but yeah, here. So it's a dynamic one with the letters again wrong, but that's fine. I think I will keep it at this, and let's quickly go back to the presentation. Yeah, if you want to know more about this project, you can find it at openrndr.org. The guide, you can find it at guide.openrndr.org, and our studio work at rndr.studio. Again, thank you for having me, and yeah, please vote, I guess. Right.